Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and on City Cable 15 in Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day in the media network of Waterford, and live to tape on Channel 10 in Lake Orion and Orion Township on Orion Neighborhood Television or ONTV. You can also find us on the radio on the Biff Radio Network in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 FM, the Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online in a couple of different places on our Facebook pages, which are at Civic Center TV 15 and at Lakes FM, on our website at civiccentertv.com, and of course on My Michigan TV or MyMy at mymytv.com, mymytv.com, where you can learn more about downloading their free apps for your smartphones and smart TVs. Take the Megacast and all the other original MyTV programming home with you and on the road anywhere in Michigan and beyond. You always have Michigan right in your pocket with the MyTV app for your smartphone. Also on our website, you can find more information on all of our programs and find them on demand as well by clicking on our Megacast link at civiccentertv.com, where you'll find not only our full episodes but also individual interviews and more content and information about our partnering stations to keep you up to date on everything that has to do with the Megacast every single day. Then let's head over to our news page at civiccentertv.com/local-news, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the Centers for Disease Control, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division, in order to keep you updated on everything you need to know about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics that you may or may not need to employ at any given time in your community or communities you visit, as well as more information on where you can get vaccinated should you need to do so. And if you are vaccinated and are in need of a booster shot, your first or your second if you're eligible, you can find more information from all three of those resources right directly at the top of our page at civiccentertv.com/local-news. Also on our news page, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines throughout the Great Lakes state. Our top story today comes from Craig Mauger and Beth LeBlanc of the Detroit News. Republicans are taking their fight to get on the primary ballot to the Michigan Supreme Court. 3 Republican candidates for governor who have been knocked off the ballot because of a gush of alleged petition forgeries have asked the Michigan Supreme Court to immediately hear their cases and intervene in order to put their names on the August primary ballot. Those include businessman Perry Johnson of Bloomfield Hills, who filed his motion late on Wednesday night to appeal a ruling from the state's Court of Appeals. Earlier Thursday morning, another candidate, Donna Brandenburg of Byron Center, asked the state's highest court to order that her name be put on the ballot according to court documents. And Grand Haven financial advisor Michael Markey appealed a Court of Appeals decision Thursday afternoon to the Michigan Supreme Court, asking the High Court to find that the state filed quote-unquote bureaucratic creativity and not state law when reviewing his signatures for the August primary ballot. Quote, "This is it," end close quote, Johnson's attorney wrote in their submission. Continuing on, "Without relief in this court, Mr. Johnson will not be on the ballot this August, and every single one of over 15,000 voters who validly signed a petition to place him on the ballot will be denied of their candidate," end close quote. Both Johnson and Brandenburg's filings came shortly before Michigan Court of Claims Judge Elizabeth Gleicher denied a challenge from former Detroit Police Chief James Craig, who was also disqualified from the ballot because of alleged petition forgeries. Craig said late on Thursday that he also will appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. Johnson and Brandenburg are hoping for action from the Michigan Supreme Court by Friday, the date in which the Michigan Secretary of State's office has said it needs answers about who is on the ballot. Markey asked the Supreme Court to enjoin the state from printing ballots while high courts consider his case. On May 23rd, the Michigan Bureau of Elections revealed its findings that 5 GOP candidates for governor had not submitted the required 15,000 valid petition signatures. In addition to Johnson, Brandenburg, Craig, and Markey, Michigan State Police Captain Michael Brown was also caught in an alleged web of forgeries. Craig has been widely viewed as the front runner in the primary race for the Republican nomination to challenge incumbent Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer in November's general election. In its staff report, the Bureau of Elections said it had tracked 36 petition circulators, quote, who submitted fraudulent petition sheets consisting entirely of invalid signatures, end closed quote. The Bureau said it was, quote, unaware of another election cycle in which this many circulators submitted such a substantial volume of fraudulent petition sheets consisting of invalid signatures, and closed quote. The State Board of Canvassers deadlocked a week ago on whether the 5 GOP candidates should be on the ballot. The board's 2-2 votes meant the hopefuls were denied their spot. The Republican candidates have argued that the Bureau of Elections needed to analyze each individual signature that staff members invalidated, but Jonathan Brader, the state's elections director, said he's confident in the Bureau's findings, which analyzed petition sheets from a group of allegedly fraudulent petition circulators and spot-checked about 7,000 of the 68,000 alleged forgeries. A Court of Appeals 3-judge panel unanimously sided with the Bureau of Elections on Wednesday, saying that the agency had a quote, clear legal duty to investigate, and closed quote, the signatures, but not to compare each one with the qualified voter file, which contains the signature of each registered voter in the state. Johnson's lawyers argued their appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court that it, quote, must step in, and closed quote, and quote, iron out the wrinkle in the fabric of Michigan law created by the lower court's published opinion, and closed quote. Markey argued that without Supreme Court intervention, quote, bureaucratic creativity, and closed quote, would, quote, control Michigan's elections rather than law, and closed quote, and put voters, quote, at the mercy of elected bureaucrats, and closed quote. Quote, Michigan needs clear guidance from this court so that everyone who decides to run for office in the future will know exactly what the rules of the game are, and closed quote, Markey's lawyers wrote in a filing on Thursday. The James Craig campaign filed his challenge in the Court of Claims, but he would have to eventually go through the Court of Appeals like the others have done. In her Thursday opinion on Craig's Court of Appeals case, Judge Gleicher said the Court of Appeals judges had addressed, quote, the issue at the heart, and closed quote, of Craig's complaint on their denial of Johnson's claims when they ruled that the state did not have a clear legal duty to check all signatures against the qualified voter file. That decision, Gleicher said, binds her court to make the same finding. In a statement on Thursday, Craig said he was, quote, disappointed, and closed quote, by the decision and plan to appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. Quote, the voters should be deciding who their candidates are, not the unelected board of government bureaucrats, and closed quote, continuing on, saying, rest assured, we will be appealing this questionable decision to the higher court, and closed quote. Brandenburg has argued that the Bureau of Elections simply didn't count about 8,000 signatures that she claims her campaign submitted in addition to the initial batch of 19,500. Quote, Donna Brandenburg has suggested the Bureau of Elections merely overlooked her second submission and somehow discounted her original submission of 19,500 estimated signatures by about 1,800, and closed quote. Brandenburg's filing said, continuing on, quote, this failure of a duty to identify the starting number correctly is a tremendous problem for the credibility of the entire review, and closed quote. For now, the alleged forgeries have cut the field of GOP candidates for governor in half, from 10 to 5. The remaining 5 GOP gubernatorial hopefuls are conservative commentator and businesswoman Tudor Dixon of Norton Shores, Ralph Rebent of Farmington Hills, businessman Kevin Rinke of Bloomfield Township, chiropractor Garrett Soldano of Matawan, and Ottawa County real estate broker Ryan Kelly. Also making headlines on our website, civicsettertv.com/local news from Frank Witzel of the Detroit Free Press. Gas prices in Metro Detroit are topping $5 a gallon in some places and are expected to go even higher. It's bad news for those of you traveling anytime sooner this weekend. Gas prices on Thursday edged toward and in some places surpassed $5 a gallon for regular unleaded gasoline in Metro Detroit, a threshold that for some means conscious efforts and strategies to cut back on their driving. Veronica Dafin made an emergency stop for gas at the Sunoco off of Woodward Avenue in Pleasant Ridge because she said she was running on fumes. Instead of filling up, she stopped at the pump at $50, paying $5.29 a gallon for mid-grade gas. Quote, hopefully I find it cheaper somewhere else, and close quote, the 58-year-old East Point resident added. And she pulled the nozzle out of her Mercedes GLC 300. Quote, I would love to put the premium in, but right now I can't afford it, and closed quote. The average price per gallon Thursday for regular unleaded gasoline in Michigan jumped to $4.80 per gallon, a dime more than it was on Wednesday, nearly a quarter more than a week ago, and nearly 3/4 more than the same day last month, according to AAA. Mid, premium, and diesel were all at over $5 at $5.04, $5.39, and $5.36 per gallon, respectively. On Memorial Day, the traditional start of the summer vacation season, AAA said in a headline, quote, asked in a headline, quote, "If this is the calm before the storm," and closed quote, for pump prices. A dip in gasoline demand, AAA said, provided drivers with some stability at the pump as the national average for a gallon of gas rose less than 3 cents over the past week to reach $4.62. But this respite, AAA said, quote, "could be brief," and closed quote. And indeed it was. Thursday, AAA noted that the national average for a gallon of gasoline, regular gasoline that is, increased by 9 cents to $4.71 a gallon. Total domestic gasoline stocks decreased while gasoline demand grew, leading to a rise in prices at the pump. This was coupled with volatile crude oil prices as well. Crude oil prices, AAA said, as the European Union works to implement a 90% ban on Russian oil imports by year-end and increased demand expectations from the market after China lifted COVID-19 restrictions in Shanghai. West Texas Intermediate was selling Wednesday at $115.26 per barrel for crude oil. 8 states already are at an average of $5 or more per gallon, according to AAA data. Those include Illinois, California, Hawaii, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and Arizona. Michigan's neighbor Ohio was close, $4.90 per gallon. The average gallon of gas in California is the highest in the union at $6.21 per gallon. Nationally, gas prices could reach a $5 per gallon average by mid-June, said Patrick DeHaan, an analyst for GasBuddy, which tracks fuel costs. By August, a J.P. Morgan analyst predicted it could reach an average of $6.20 per gallon. Daffin said she saved a few cents a gallon by paying with cash. Still, she said at $5.29 a gallon, she was paying far too much. Even the regular unleaded price, she pointed out, before the cash discount was $4.99 a gallon, more than she'd seen in a long time, perhaps ever. Quote, I got 9 gallons for $50, and this year for vacations, I'm doing more local stuff, Daffin said, who was on her way to take her niece to celebrate her 50th birthday. Quote, "This is absolutely ridiculous," and closed quote. Finally, making headlines on our local news page at civiccentertv.com from Mark Torregrossa of MLive, Michigan's weekend weather forecast will be much different than the sunny, hot weather from last weekend. Cooler weather is taking hold for the weekend and a period of some rain, but this will not be a total washout weekend here in the Great Lakes State. In fact, most of the hours of this weekend will be dry, even at the wettest spot in lower Michigan. Saturday looks dry across all of Michigan. An area of showers should move across a strip of lower Michigan sometime on Sunday. Showers would start across western lower Michigan Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then move into eastern lower Michigan on Sunday. The showers will be moving northeast and should move out of the southern half of lower Michigan by Sunday morning. So this weekend is not a total washout. You'll probably have 3 to 6 hours of showers at any one spot in Michigan. Also notice that in this article, he didn't mention anything about heavy rain or severe thunderstorms. So some good news there for those of you that are not clamoring for storm season just yet. Temperatures will be at the big change, however, from last weekend with much cooler temperatures. Saturday morning will be almost chilly with temperatures bottoming out in the 40s. Saturday afternoon will be very comfortable with temperatures in the low 70s. So it's not a day where you are going to bake out in the sun. That's probably bad news for half of Michiganders and great news for the other half. Sunday morning we'll have the clouds and showers. Sunday morning won't be as cool as Saturday morning necessarily. And then Sunday afternoon features patches of clouds holding the temperatures down somewhat. Winds won't really be a big deal, however, this weekend as they have been in past weekends, except the northeast wind coming down Saginaw Bay. Sunday's wind will be less than 10 miles per hour at inland lakes, and once the rain ends in your location, it should be nice for a comfortable boat ride or a nice walk outside in the cooler, but still very much summer weather here in the Great Lakes State. All those headlines are on our website, civiccentertv.com, by clicking on our local news page, where you'll also find those ever-helpful links to up-to-date and accurate information on COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great program ahead on this Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Oakland University's Rosemary Max, and then at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk about conservation and education with Melinda Jones from Relief, Michigan. That's all up next on the Oakland County Megacast.
There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners, working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every single day on the program, and find our shows on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now from Oakland University is their Executive Director of Global Engagement, Rosemary Max, joins us now on the Oakland County Megacast. Rosemary, thank you for being with us today.
Tyler, thanks for having me.
I appreciate having you on. So first of all, tell us a little bit about your role as the Executive Director of Global Engagement, because so much of what our universities are doing nowadays isn't just local, it's also nationally, and it's all around the globe as well.
Yep, that's so true. And so universities are actors in the world and around the globe. And so my office handles all the incoming international students and scholars that come to Oakland University, as well as all of our outgoing study abroad students. We have an English Language Institute where students come to learn English before going on for their degrees at Oakland. And then we also work on all the international agreements we have with university partners around the world. So quite a bit.
So in the past, Oakland University has been more of a regional educational hub in the state of Michigan, for mostly in the lower eastern half of the state. And in recent years, it has expanded, it has grown. Certainly in the last couple of decades, it's become much more of a prominent university in the state of Michigan, regionally in the Midwest. And so as the university continues to expand its programming, how important has it been for Oakland University to make its mark outside of Michigan and outside of the U.S. in order to continue its mission right here in Oakland County?
That's a great question. You know, Oakland County itself is so international, with so many international businesses that are based here. And I think our students come here from overseas because of that, and because of Oakland University and our connection to those companies and to the county and the great work that's done in Michigan. And so international students has been a growing population at Oakland over the past 5 years. There was a bit of a dip like everywhere else with COVID, but we're seeing a bit of a rebound hopefully for fall with respect to international students. And so that they come here for those reasons. Many of those students are in STEM fields. They are the students that go on and do PhDs in engineering. There's students that go on and teach our kids as they, go into the STEM fields in high school and in college. And so Oakland really is well positioned because of the types of programs it offers and the county in which we sit.
So some of those outreach programs and some of those programs that are imported into Oakland University are about expanding education to educators outside of Oakland University and outside of our local area. That includes a program that Oakland University has recently engaged in called the Exchange for Pakistani Secondary Educators and Administrators, or EPSIA, for equity, access, and learning disabilities in secondary schools in Pakistan. Can you tell us about this program, how it benefits those educators in Pakistan, and why it was important for Oakland University to participate in this kind of an educational outreach program at another institution?
Yep, so this is Oakland University's first U.S. State Department grant. And so the U.S. State Department funds many different kinds of programs bringing international people to the United States for all sorts of reasons. But one of the key reasons, in addition to the content that they're here for, that they study, is public diplomacy. And so Oakland is very strong in education and learning difference and learning disabilities, what these students are coming to learn about. There are 20 teachers from high schools in Pakistan who the idea of learning difference and learning disability and teaching to those sorts of needs is not as developed in Pakistan, and we have a lot to offer here in that regard. And so this is the program that we worked with the State Department and local partners, Global Ties Detroit, to put together and have these students come and really understand what it is to have different kinds of learners in the classroom, and really to go back and hopefully start something quite unique for Pakistan and a network, and training other teachers and making them aware of these issues in the classroom.
So Rosemary, participating in these programs isn't something that just magically happens. You're not just going to randomly get a note from the Secretary of State, from the State Department, that they need help in this particular program and they chose your university. So how did Oakland University first hear about this program and then engage with the State Department to participate in this program?
Well, we work closely with Global Ties Detroit, who runs a lot of programs for the State Department in the Detroit area with respect to public diplomacy. And there was a grant that came up that was linked to Pakistan, and a university lead was needed. And we put together this idea based on our strength and kind of the connection that we had to Pakistan already. And we just applied for the grant and we won it. So it sounds easy. It was a lot of work, but twice postponed, I might add, because of COVID. The group was supposed to be here 2 years ago. But that's how we found out about the grant, and we just put in the hard work to get it and win it.
Rosemary, I would imagine that it's not just Pakistan where some of these issues or these deficiencies, probably is a better way to put it, in their special education programs are present. How much of an issue is this on an international level, where special education programs or educational programs for those with disabilities might not be at its most prominent point in other nations?
So that's a great question. I mean, we're just, even in the United States, we're, developing responses and interventions to help these students. And so there are many countries, so many countries in which this is an issue. We just had a visit from a colleague from Egypt, and he was most interested and focused in on potentially doing something with respect to this for universities and teachers in Egypt. And we have one of our colleagues who is an Oakland University professor who is from Ghana, who's working with this group from Pakistan, and he looks at this from a slightly different perspective from sub-Saharan Africa. So this is something that is just really needed around the world.
And these programs are complicated. It's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all definition of how to teach somebody with a disability or a group of kids with disabilities. And it's complicated. It takes years for people to develop those skills and develop those programs properly, especially when you're developing them in a completely different culture. So how does that factor in to Oakland University's support for these Pakistani educators as they're learning some of these techniques and trying to apply them to the students that they'll be teaching?
So that's a great point. And one of the things that we've said to the teachers while they're here is that we show you kind of a set of tools and things that can be used in classrooms here. They differ depending on students. They differ depending on, whatever the student's need is. And so we've constantly reinforced with them that you're going back to a different culture in which family structure is different. Maybe a stigma to admit a learning disability is completely different than it is here in the United States. And so these teachers really have a lot of work ahead of them in terms of thinking about what they have observed here and how that might fit in Pakistan. And so we'll be connected with them over the year a couple times to see how they're progressing. And then they come back next summer to continue with the program for another 6 weeks.
And so what sort of dialogue is there coming back from those teachers from Pakistan? And what sort of lessons can then be learned by your staff at Oakland University from communicating with these educators who have obviously different perspectives and different cultures behind their teaching that may be very useful right here at Oakland University?
I think what they always remind us is that a culture is different, everyone is different. And that's a lesson that we can apply even to people who are from the same neighborhood or the same country. You always have to step back and try to understand where that person's coming from, what's feeding into how they're perceiving things. We've been in a lot of meetings here at Oakland where I've maybe seen one thing in the meeting and the participants just being from a completely different place have keyed in on something else. And so it's just a reminder to just stay back and kind of reflect before you assume something about another person if they're from another culture, or even if they're from our own culture. So it's just always a good reminder.
We're joined by Rosemary Mack. She is the Executive Director of Global Engagement at Oakland University, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on everything going on at Oakland University, including this special program through the State Department, by visiting oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for everything that you need to know to keep up to date on what's going on at Oakland University, located in Rochester Hills in Oakland County, Michigan. And so what are some of those techniques that have been discussed in this program with these Pakistani educators, or what sort of different routines have been put in place in order to really help them bolster some of their programs as they're building their special education programs overseas?
Well, we've done a couple things, and I think they've all been really important. So one is they've had a morning seminar, just getting, familiar with the language of learning disability and learning difference by OU faculty in our School of Education. And then they've had this amazing opportunity to be at Eaton Academy in Birmingham, which is a school that teaches K through 12, and many of their students learn differently. And so they've actually had a hands-on experience there with teachers, with students, understanding how, they work with students and meet them where they are and support them to get to their learning goals. And then they're in a seminar now in the afternoon, which is really kind of more research focused while they're here, kind of looking up, bibliography, articles that are focused on this topic, trying to really put together a research question or something that fits their context at home. So when they go home, they'll work on it for the academic year and then hopefully come back, and we'd like to do some sort of conference or maybe even see if we can get some of them to publish here and then in Pakistan.
So Rosemary, this EPSIA program through the State Department, it's a significant program. It's a great outreach program. It's doing great things for students and educators in Pakistan, but it's also such great public relations locally and internationally from Oakland University. How is this program's participation inspiring your team and the entire university really for more outreach programs potentially in the future?
Well, that's a great question. I think just for my team, there's been a lot of hard work in pulling this off logistically, not only making sure that they're getting what they need in the classroom, but they're having a good time and enjoying our area and really showcasing the Detroit area. So I think we know now that we can do this type of program, that Oakland is a great place for this type of program, that our campus is responsive and open to these programs in the future. And really for me, it reminds me how much the Detroit area has to offer to people who come from overseas. There's just so much to see and do here. And there's a great story in how Detroit fits into, U.S. history and world and the world. And so we like to tell that to visitors when they come from overseas.
We're joined by Rosemary Max, the Executive Director of Global Engagement at Oakland University. More information can be found on all of their programs in global engagement and beyond by visiting their website at oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information. Rosemary, we have a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. What other sort of programs are underway or are certain to be underway through your department at Oakland University to continue that global outreach, which is so important in the world that we have today, even for universities?
Well, one of the key ways that Oakland reaches abroad is through international agreements with various universities. And while there was a bit of a dip in non-activity in the first year of COVID, I would say the last year we've signed so many agreements with universities from around the globe. And so we're looking forward to welcoming students and scholars from those places. We're working on agreements with Mexico. We've signed more agreements with China, a new one in Indonesia, Jordan. And so we are just expanding internationally and looking forward to building those partnerships, deepening those partnerships, and developing programming and other things with our partners from around the globe.
Rosemary, thank you so much for joining us, giving us some insight into this special program that's, of course, a partnership between Oakland University and the U.S. State Department, and giving us some insight into the international relations that go into running a university such as Oakland.
Tyler, thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. More information, of course, on everything at Oakland University can be found at oakland.edu. That's oakland.edu for more information on everything happening at Oakland University. We're going to take a break on the Oakland County Megacast. When we come back, we hear so much about global warming, about climate change, about the impact of clear-cutting trees for development all throughout the state of Michigan. How can you help on a local level right there in your community, planting trees and saving trees? We have Melinda Jones with us next from Relief, Michigan to talk about that and more. That's coming up on the Oakland County Megacast.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there's a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
To Sofia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com, clicking on our Megacast link, and you'll find more information there about all of our partnering TV, radio, and other media outlets, and find all of our programs on demand as well, dating all the way back to March of 2020 when we began this show out of precaution and a necessity due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, it's evolved, and we talk about way more than just COVID-19 nowadays, including ways that you can help in your community on an ecological level. Of course, trees are being constantly cut down for new developments or for renovations or for many other reasons for just industry, especially today as industries such as lumber and home building and so on are trying to catch up to losses from the pandemic. But that has a big impact on the local community level. But there's a way that can be mitigated right at the community level. And joining us to talk about that and more is Melinda Jones from Relief, Michigan. Melinda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, can you just give us a little bit of background information on Relief Michigan and the services that it provides here in the state of Michigan?
Certainly. Relief Michigan is a nonprofit educational tree organization. We're statewide, and our mission is we work with communities throughout the upper and lower peninsulas to plant trees on public property with volunteers. Our mission is to educate residents on the proper way to select, plant, and maintain the trees. So ideally, once they have an opportunity to do an in-person planting, a hands-on planting, that they'll become comfortable and go to their local nursery, buy a tree, plant it on their private property, thus increasing the overall tree canopy throughout the state.
We're joined by Melinda Jones, the Executive Director of Relief Michigan, on the Oakland County Megacast. And so how did you end up with the organization? What is your background and what led you to becoming the Executive Director of Relief Michigan?
Well, this is actually a second career. However, I've been involved since the inception in 1988. Everyone involved with Relief Michigan, as far as our project foresters and our planting staff, are all degreed and or ISA certified arborists. And so my background is in forestry from Michigan State University. And when the program came our way back in 1988, we were part of another organization, a statewide professional organization. And so I became involved and spun off, and I became the executive director. And I feel obviously very passionate about what we do, which is working with residents and communities to restore the urban tree canopies as well as rural. I mean, we work all over.
So, Melinda, as we look at different cities in Michigan, especially those smaller towns that more people have been flocking to as they've left the cities or as people are moving into Michigan from other places across the union and across the world, because Michigan's just such a great place to live, we see more development. And when we see more development, that often comes at the expense of the natural environmental features in these communities, and often that's going to be trees. And so how much of a need is there in the state of Michigan to be planting new trees to maintain the ecological nature and the ecological systems really across the board in the Great Lakes state?
Well, a recent U.S. Forest Service study has shown that the U.S. overall is losing 36 million acres of trees per year. And Michigan ranks in the top 23 of the states that are losing trees. And most of that is due to urban development, insects, disease, old age, that sort of thing. When we first got started in 1988, 1 out of every 4 trees being removed were being replaced. And unfortunately, that's still the case today. We are not keeping up with the tree removal rate, and in the U.S. overall, it's worth $96 million of infrastructure and environmental benefits that are lost.
And so often we have different ecological advocacy groups or environmentalist groups that are going to these different places that are seeing these developments come through, going to planning commission meetings, meeting directly with developers, meeting directly with businesses to implore them not to cut down trees, in particular those well-aged trees, because trees take a long time to grow. And so if you're replacing these trees, you have to understand too that this is not going to be a quick process to get the benefit of those trees, especially those that are larger trees making bigger impacts on the ecology of the local area. It's not going to take a quick succession to get back the service of that particular tree. And so as Michigan is, as you said, replacing 1 out of every 4 trees it's taking down and is ranked so low in terms of tree replacement across the union, what can the state be doing? What can we be doing to bridge that gap? Because you would think on one hand, okay, well, why don't we just play catch up for every tree we cut down? Let's change that from 1 in 4 to 4 in 4, and eventually we'll be right back there. We'll have the equal number of trees, no harm, no foul, right? But that's not quite the case.
No, it's not. What you want to do, obviously, is you have to have the right tree for the right place for the right purpose. So sometimes where trees have been removed, they needed to be removed because they weren't surviving and they weren't adding everything. It is as important to maintain the trees as it is to plant new ones. Trees are indeed problem solvers, and they give so much as far as an economic and environmental and a health perspective. When I first got started many years ago, there was not the analytical data to support all of this tree planting. Today there is. Like, for example, asthma is up 50%. And it's been shown that children who live in areas with trees have a greatly reduced level of asthma. It reduces stress, stormwater. Communities that are planting trees are having less of an impact or need to build additional infrastructure. Trees are the only part of an infrastructure that does not depreciate. It only appreciates. So it's critical that it be done, but it be done wisely. And one of the things that we do is we offer a turnkey operation where we work with the community. We actually go out, we involve the community, we take a look at the location, we make sure that the trees that are going to be planted are the correct ones for that area. We arrange for the purchase and delivery. We help the community get the volunteers, and then we actually have a planting day where we do an in-depth planting demonstration, and then the trees get planted. But more important, 12 months later, in addition to a 3-year maintenance agreement being signed, 12 months later, we actually go back and walk with that community official tree by tree by tree to determine the viability and what needs to be done to improve it. Plus, you talked about communities. There are a lot of tools available today, such as a tree equity index, which allows you to also make sure that where the trees are being planted, really not only are where they need to be planted, but that it is more equitable from a demographic perspective with the community. A lot of the communities that we work with have low urban tree canopies, down around 10 to 15%, where the preferred average across the state of Michigan is about 43%.
We're joined by Melinda Jones, the Executive Director of Relief Michigan, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. More information can be found on reliefmichigan.org. That's reliefmichigan.org for more information on their services and how you can get involved with Relief Michigan, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so as much as we talk about replacing trees that we are cutting down for our own development and for the benefit of our own communities, so to speak, we also need to consider that trees are living things. Trees die, and that also has an impact that also has a residual impact on the impact that our cutting down of trees and trees then dying in a unnatural manner, so to speak, that also plays a factor. So as you're going through these communities and you're educating these communities and their individuals about replacement of trees that we cut down, of the importance of maintaining that tree health, what can be done also, or how much more important is it then to have that education in these communities because of the compounding nature of both humans cutting down trees and killing trees and trees naturally dying? That could have a big impact together, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And education is absolutely critical. One of the services that we do provide are homeowner presentations and presentations to community professionals. If you don't understand the value provided by a tree, then it doesn't make any difference to you if you cut it down or not. If you realize that by cutting down all the street trees on Main Street, that you're significantly reducing the amount of money people are willing to pay for services, or whether they'll even stop. You need to understand the benefits from an environmental, a health, aesthetic, and economic perspective. And then you have to understand exactly kind of how the tree works. And for example, with stormwater, a lot of people don't think of it, but if you look at a maple tree, in a way, it's an umbrella. And so if we get a downpour, it slows down the transfer of water to the ground. It reduces flooding, so it doesn't overload the sewer systems, that sort of thing. So we thoroughly enjoy going out and talking about the value of trees and the need to, again, properly replace them. And over the years, we've worked with over 500 communities now, and we've got over 30,000 trees in the ground. And one thing that's a little bit different that I'd like to say is we plant 1.5 to 2 inch caliper trees, which tend to be 5 to 8 feet tall. So we're not in the seedling business. And there's a lot of room for that in the national forest, state forest, that sort of thing. But when you get to rural and urban communities, something a little bit bigger is better.
So what determines what size of the tree you're planting in a certain area? Because like you said, you're not in the business of planting trees from the time that they're a seedling, because as we mentioned earlier, that's going to take a lot of time to develop. These other trees are somewhat developed already and can provide a greater impact immediately. So how does that determination be made? Because one community is going to be different than another community, even if they're neighboring each other and are generally in the same area.
Right. Okay, well, a couple of things. First of all, if it's a street tree, the size of the tree is dependent on the amount of space between the sidewalk and the street, the lawn extension, okay? That makes a big difference there. Then, because we tend to plant with volunteers, we have found that trees that are about 2 inch caliper, which are, again, the 5 to 8 feet, which are in containers or small balled and burlap, are the best way to go, because if you go much larger than that, it's hard for volunteers to roll the trees in the hole and to get them straight and at the right level, that sort of thing. So again, you really have to look at the location, work with the community, to look at what it is they're trying to accomplish, and then select the tree and the size accordingly.
We're joined by Melinda Jones, the Executive Director of Relief Michigan, joining us on the Megacast. More information can be found on their website, reliefmichigan.org, and that is R-E-L-E-A-F, relief, like a tree leaf, michigan.org for more information, where you can find out more about their events, getting involved with the organization, find them on social media so you can follow them and learn more online, and of course so much more information. reliefmichigan.org is the website where you can find the organization. So speaking of those events and those efforts, there are a lot of fun events that are being held by Relief Michigan in many different places throughout the state of Michigan to provide that education about trees and about the importance of trees in our community, but also do so in a way that's fun and engaging and gets the people interested in the impact that they have. Can you give us some examples of some of those events that you're holding coming up soon and how people can participate?
Okay, well, one of the things that's ongoing right now is the Michigan Big Tree Hunt. It's a contest that lasts for 2 years, and it's an opportunity to get outside, looking up, and to participate in a contest where you can win a prize for the largest tree around. And so it will be ending on August the 9th. If you go to bigtreehunt.com, that's the best way for families to get involved. And we have a ceremony, we award prizes, certificates. It's a lot of fun. We've now completed our spring tree planting season, but we will start up again in September, and we go through the first weekend in November. We have almost 25 tree plantings coming up. So if you go to our Facebook page or our website, you can actually volunteer and participate in that way. We're always looking for volunteers, so we greatly appreciate that.
Another event that is ongoing is the Michigan Tree Huggers Contest. Can you tell us about that, how people can participate? I would imagine it's not who can hug the most unique trees in the state of Michigan.
Actually, that was a misprint. It's the Michigan Big Tree Hunt Contest.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was kind of cute, Michigan Big Tree Huggers. But no, it's the Big Tree Hunt that I just spoke about, where it's very popular with families, children's, and retirees, believe it or not, because the largest tree could be in your backyard. It could be down the street in a local park. It's very easy to nominate your tree. And again, what we do is we award prizes, but we also look for new state champions. And if we have new state champions or potential state champions, we pass them on to the state organization, who then perhaps, if they're large enough, passes them on to the National Tree Register out of Washington, D.C. Michigan at one time had 90-some state champions, and now we're down to maybe 3 or 4. So we're really looking for people to get out there and help us regain our status.
So what we need is more trees and more champions for trees. That's what you're saying, Melinda.
That is correct. Yes, we really do. Now is a very, very critical time given the environment and all that. So we need people to ideally donate. We need people to volunteer. We need people to become more educated. And you can do that by following our Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing, Instagram page, to see what we've got going on. And we're always available, a phone call away.
Melinda, beyond the local educational opportunities and tree planting opportunities, what other sort of volunteer opportunities are there for people that would like to support your organization and get involved with this nonprofit?
Well, let's see. We need people to be involved with the Michigan Big Tree Hunt. And then we're always looking for people. Sometimes if people will be at Royal Oak, Arts Beats and Eats. We need people who are willing to help us out there. That's where some of our money comes. Our need is greater than the amount of money that we have. We get a lot of requests that we just can't handle. So we look to do fundraisers, and sometimes that's easier. And we're always looking for people with administrative skills, technical skills, whatever. If you go to our website, there's a forum that people can volunteer. So volunteers are absolutely critical to our organization. We have a very, very small staff, and we've been very, very blessed over the years that we have so many green industry professionals that are willing to continue to work with us, as well as people in communities that are passionate about their communities and willing to come out and put foot to shovel and get those trees in the ground.
Melinda, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time, and of course, more information on Relief Michigan and how you can participate in their events and their programs on the local level in your community can be found at reliefmichigan.org. That's RELEAF Michigan.org. We're going to take a break on the Oakland County Megacast. When we come back, we'll kick off the Michigan Megacast on your radio homes for the program. 89.3 Lakes FM, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, the Biff, as well as the rest of our network on TV and other media as well. And of course, we will kick off the 11 o'clock hour with Jeremy Johnson, a student from Oakland University who is working with the Secretary of State's office in order to get out the vote in the younger population on his university campus, alongside 24 other students doing the same all across the state of Michigan. That's coming up next. This is the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now is one of 25 students on the Department of State's Collegiate Student Advisory Task Force here in Michigan. Jeremy Johnson from Oakland University joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Jeremy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I appreciate everyone. So first off, tell us what you're studying at Oakland University and why did you ultimately choose to go to Oakland?
Yeah, I am studying political science. I'm in my third year. I also have a minor in philosophy. I chose to go to OU because it was an affordable option for me. When I toured campus, I liked the environment. And ultimately, with my political engagement work, I was always very interested in politics. As soon as I got to campus, I've been doing this work for some time now, and that encouraged me to apply for the collegiate task force.
So you said you've been interested in civic engagement and in politics for a while. Obviously, that interest is something that you'd like to turn into a career as you're studying political science at Oakland University. So when did you first become civically involved, or did you realize that civic engagement and political activity in your community and in surrounding communities was something that you were passionate about?
I mean, I've thought for a while that political engagement is pretty vital. Obviously, I wasn't able to vote or really do much political activity before I was 18, but as soon as I got to campus, I knew that I wanted to do something in politics. I knew that I wanted to help out in some way when it comes to getting the student body more involved. I quickly began helping with voter registration drives, encouraging people to vote, helping with events that would increase voter participation on campus. And ultimately, I think it is just very important that students get out to vote, because students historically, the youth historically, have been very underrepresented at the polls. Trends have been better. In 2020, more young people turned out to vote than in a very long time, but I still think that there's a lot more work that we can do. And through all the work that I've done at OU, I hope that I have contributed in some positive way to improving that trend.
We're joined by Jeremy Johnson, Oakland University student and one of 25 members of the Michigan Department of State's Collegiate Student Advisory Task Force, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. We'll get to the task force in a minute, but on campus at Oakland University, what are some of the ways that you have worked to increase that civic engagement of the student body, not just yourself and those around you, but really the activity across campus, especially in the last couple of years and as we're going forward, where we are a very politically active society and we hear more about the actions of our political leaders and the actions of those civically involved more than ever?
Yeah, certainly. So a lot of my work took place leading up to the 2020 elections that happened during my second year at OU. A lot of the work that I've done has been in collaboration with our student government, Oakland University Student Congress, as well as the Center for Civic Engagement with Professor David Dulio. A lot of what we did was hosting voter registration drives, putting up a lot of posters and signage, letting people know about their online options when it comes to registering to vote or getting an absentee ballot. We hosted a free stamp program so that we could eliminate that monetary barrier when it comes to sending in absentee ballots. We hosted a whole lot of events, debate watch parties, that sort of thing. And we've been working very extensively on long-term programs that would increase student voter participation in the long run, things like encouraging classes to be canceled on election days, things like encouraging various departments that interact with first-year students to host voter registration drives of their own, and all kinds of other things. And I hope that we can resume a lot of these programs and a lot of these efforts for the 2022 elections. And I'm hopeful that these midterms would be successful, just as 2020 was for OU.
So as you're doing these get out the vote drives, and you're trying to get more people on campus, younger people, to get involved, especially in those non-presidential elections, those midterms, those primaries especially, where turnout overall is significantly lower, but especially among the younger populations. Was that a tough experience to try to convince students to be more politically involved in times where it's less publicized, such as midterm elections, certainly the primaries? What was your experience like as you are going through that endeavor and trying to garner more activity politically on campus, regardless of party affiliation?
Yeah, I think 2020 was a very different political environment. The election was obviously very contentious. We had a presidential election that year. We had senators going up in the state of Michigan. So I think people were already pretty mobilized to go and vote. So I can't necessarily claim all of the success that OU had on behalf of my efforts, but I do know that students were very interested in voting. And I think that student voter mobilization is difficult for different reasons than people may conventionally think. I think that once you remove the barriers that students may have in front of them when it comes to voting, whether it be monetary or timely or whatever else the barrier may be, I think students generally do want to go and vote. It's just they're unaware of their options. They may have classes that day. They may not have the money to drive out to the polling stations or send their absentee ballot in. They may have forgot about the elections. They weren't being reminded. And I think once you remove those barriers and you do all of that work that entails, I think students generally will go and vote. And I think that's what we saw, at least for OU. We had a 73.4%, I think, voter turnout rate in 2020. Obviously, in 2022, it'll probably be lower just because that's how things trend. There's not much we can do to control for that. But I think that if we work to remove the barriers on a systemic level, kind of a university-wide level, I think that overall voter participation will go up. I mean, ultimately, even if we have a 100% voter registration rate, if students actually can't go and vote, if they don't have the capacity to go and do it, they won't be able to. So I'm of the opinion that we can encourage all we want, but ultimately removing the barriers is the number one thing.
So tell us about your experience on the Department of State's Collegiate Student Advisory Task Force. How does that then help to inform the actions that you're taking at Oakland University to help get your community more civically involved?
Yeah, you know, sometimes doing this work, I feel very alone. There's very few people on campus that are willing to collaborate, that are even interested in voter participation, voter engagement work, especially in a midterm election year, especially during 2020 when there were no statewide elections in Michigan. But being on the collegiate task force, it's very interesting because it's a lot of people that think the exact same way that I do. And we've only had one meeting so far. We had it last week. We have another meeting coming up next week. But the first meeting was really all about getting to know each other, getting to know each other's goals, and setting some goals for ourselves of what we really want to accomplish, what issues we really want to address. It was about a 2-hour meeting where we were just talking about those issues, talking about what we think is important. And I'm very hopeful, more hopeful than I've been in a while about this kind of stuff, because it can be really tough working on your own as a student in this space on an issue that you feel like maybe many people don't care about. But when you get into a room that is full of 25 to 35 people that all really want to work towards the same end that you do, it's inspiring, and I'm really grateful to be given this opportunity.
We're joined by Jeremy Johnson, Oakland University student and one of 25 members of the Michigan Department of State's Collegiate Student Advisory Task Force, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. He's also on that task force with fellow Oakland University classmate Anna Van Hess. So how did the two of you become involved with the task force? Were you recruited by the Department of State? Was this something you applied for? What was that process like?
I'm not sure what it was like for Anna, but for me, I had just seen that applications were open. I had seen that the Secretary of State's department was looking for students from college campuses that were interested in this work that really wanted to help, and I thought it was just right up my alley. I thought it was perfect for me. So I applied, I went through the interview process, waited to hear back from them, and eventually I was notified that I got it.
And so you mentioned that this work has just begun. What are some of the future plans of the task force or tasks of the task force going forward? Obviously, civic engagement plays a key role in that, encouraging students to be politically involved, to go out and vote and learn the options that they have for voting in their all across the state of Michigan. But what other tasks or what other projects are underway or being discussed with the task force at this time?
Yeah, so I think the main direction of the task force is still really up to us. I think it's up to us to decide what we're going to do. There's a few requirements of us. We have to put on a couple of voter engagement events. There's some things that we have to do on our own campus, like they're requiring us to put up signage and make sure we're doing our own things as well as working with the task force and collaborating with each other. But outside of that, I think the direction is really, they're leaving it up to the students, which I think is really great. If I could have it my way, 100%, not saying that I'm going to try to control everything here, but what I would like to see out of the task force is a large focus on convincing administrations to take, again, university-wide action to remove the barriers that students may have to voting. Again, it's really hard to do this work on your own. Even if you have, say, a group of 10 people working on voter engagement on your campus, it's still really hard to do it, especially with campuses that are very large. And no matter how much we encourage students to register to vote, to get out to vote, it's really all about the barriers that are preventing them from voting. And I think administrators specifically have a very unique role when it comes to that. And they have the ability, unlike anyone else on campus, to get rid of those barriers and encourage students to vote on a university-wide level. And I hope that's what the task force aims to do, because I think that's what we have the power to do. That's what we have the reach to do. And that's what I think would be the most responsible use of our time together.
Jeremy, through your efforts, the efforts of yourself and Anna and other students at Oakland University, the university has been designated a voter-friendly campus. Can you talk about, A, what that means to be a voter-friendly campus, and what goes into meeting the requirements to have that declaration, to have that designation at Oakland University?
I can't remember the specific statistics that we had to reach. There were certain numbers we had to reach in voter registration rates, voter turnout rates, that sort of thing. I can't remember the exact numbers they wanted us to reach. But I believe that as a part of the All-In Challenge, they give you those designations. I think we received the voter-friendly campus designation last year. I received that in part with the work that I've done with Professor David Dulio and the Center for Civic Engagement. All that's really about is a kind of a third-party authentication that your campus is doing what they should be doing to encourage student voter participation. It doesn't, I don't think it includes or it necessarily differentiates between who is doing that work, whether it be administrators encouraging it or students encouraging it or different departments. But it is just a way for us to say, we are doing the work, we're putting in the time, and we're making sure students get out to vote. And we're very happy to receive that designation. I remember we received a lot of accolades and a lot of praise for that. So very happy to be a part of that.
We're joined by Jeremy Johnson, Oakland University political science student and member of the Michigan Department of State's Collegiate Student Advisory Task Force, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Jeremy, if others on campus would like to join you and join Anna in your efforts to increase civic engagement on campus and political involvement and help other students learn about the political process and their ability to vote on campus at Oakland University and in their hometowns, but of course they at this time can't join the task force, but what are some ways that they can help you and Anna in your efforts at Oakland University and get involved themselves in this effort?
Biggest thing I would say is if you're already a part of student organizations, make sure you're getting all your friends registered to vote. Make sure you're getting all your members registered to vote. The work that I've done, as I mentioned, has been mostly through our student congress and our student government and all the relationships we have through that organization. But sometimes just because our reach isn't infinite, we miss some groups. And those groups tend to have student organizations that they belong to. And if you feel like your group is underrepresented, you feel like your student voices are not being heard, then I would encourage you to organize yourselves and register everyone to vote and encourage everyone to vote. But outside of that, if you're on Oakland University's campus, I would encourage you to reach out to Student Congress and get involved as much as you can. You can just do this voter engagement work if that's what you're interested in. And ultimately, I think that, like I said, if you're a part of an organization, you can organize and do that work yourself. It's pretty easy to set up a voter registration drive. If you want to work with others, you can reach out to Student Congress and, yeah.
Jeremy, on that note, any events coming up or on campus at Oakland University for voter engagement, for voter registration, or anything else on this topic?
At this time, I'm not sure. The semester just got out, so I don't know really what events are coming up. But we'll have plenty planned for the fall. I believe National Voter Registration Day is on September 22nd or 23rd, somewhere in there. So I'm sure we'll have something planned for that. And I'm hoping lots of exciting get out the vote measures, get out the vote events, that kind of thing, once we get closer to midterms.
Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. We can learn more about everything happening at Oakland University and how you can get involved in many of its programs, of course, on their website, oakland.edu. We'll take a break here on the Michigan Megacast. On the other side, we'll talk to one of nearly 1,000 artists who will be featured at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. Laura Coral joins us next on the Michigan Megacast.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood,
physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford internet service for your household, there is a new government program that may be able to help. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program, and it provides up to a $30 monthly discount to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll at fcc.gov/ACP or call toll-free at 877-384-2575. That's 877-384-2575.
The Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission has more information. Visit gwbcable.org.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you. Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, you'll find more information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, who just wrapped up a long week out at the Mackinac Policy Conference in Mackinac City, of course, put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber. Plenty of interesting press conferences and other coverage, all of which you can find on MyTV's website and on their smartphone and smart TV apps. First place you're going to want to look at is at MyMy's website at mymytv.com. That's mymitv.com. Or right at the top of the page, they have a link to Live in the Grand Hotel Mackinac Policy Conference. If you were to click on that, it takes you to all of their coverage, press conferences, individual discussions, so much great content from the Mackinac Policy Conference. You can hear Governor Whitmer speak with U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg about transportation, about, of course, fixing the damn roads here in the state of Michigan, hear from the Secretary of State, as well as American soccer legend Mia Hamm on about the governor's task force on women in sports. There's plenty of great information here, including a discussion between Governor Whitmer and Oakland County Executive David Coulter, and so much more information on earned income tax credit, on Wayne County's workforce development, news and information on policies affecting economics all across the Great Lakes state, whether it be Southeast Michigan, the UP, Western Michigan, wherever you are in the state. There's a lot of really important content here that you may have missed in all of the reporting from the Mackinac Policy Conference. View those full press conferences and other discussions as well at mymytv.com. That's also where one of the many places you'll find the Megacast, both live and on demand and replaying throughout the evenings and the weekends, and other original MyTV content, including Steve Lado Live, which, of course, comes up after us each and every day live from 12 noon to 1 p.m., and then Larry and Ronnie live from 1 p.m. until 2 p.m. 5 days a week. So much great original Michigan content on MyMy's website, as well as imported content from creators all across the Great Lakes state, all about the state of Michigan. That's at mymytv.com. You can, of course, learn more about all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets that join us every day, and find us on demand at our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with another interesting interview right here on the Michigan Megacast.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com, where you'll also find information on all of our partnering stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now is an artist who began his love of art while doodling as a kid and turned that into a career in a way that you may not be able to see for very long. David Zinn joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. He's one of many artists you'll find at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd. David, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, I'd like to ask this of any artist that joins us. What inspired you to pursue art as a professional career?
Well, my mother hates when I say this, but it's really because I successfully failed at any other kind of career. I was a compulsive doodler as a child, had no idea that was even a job option, and actually studied other things in college. But when I got out of college, the main thing people wanted from me was, hey, could you draw this for me? Because they knew I was the guy who draws stuff.
And so your art has a range of different commissions. You've been commissioned on theatrical posters, educational cartoons, landfill murals, environmental superheroes, corporate allegories, hand-painted dump trucks. It goes along a wide range. Where did that range come from? Because drawing is its own medium, but then when you go to these different outlets for those drawings, I would imagine it takes on a whole different meaning, and it's a whole different process for one versus the other.
Well, I mostly just made myself available in a relatively small town of Ann Arbor to do whatever people needed done. But actually, all of that has now been blown out of the water by the one type of art I started doing exclusively for myself, for non-commercial purposes, which is drawing on the street with chalk, which is what I'm going to be doing at the Ann Arbor Art Fair in July. That it's actually serves very little purpose, which is what I like about it. It's an ephemeral art that exists only out on the street until it rains.
So your street art drawings, you mentioned that you're going to be doing some street art drawings in chalk during the Ann Arbor Art Fair. They're considered to be anamorphic pareidolia. Can you tell our viewers what those terms mean?
Of course. They are weird words to use. I think I like using them in part because they sound like fake words, but they are real. Anamorphosis is a trick that artists have been using for hundreds of years. It's the technique of stretching or distorting a flat image so that when you look at it from one perfect point of view, it looks three-dimensional. It's a very common trick for street artists to use. I think because when you draw something on the ground at people's feet, they can't actually look at it from straight above, because they'd have to be 20 feet tall to do that. And so since people can only look at it from a weird angle, you might as well make one of those weird angles the ideal place to stand, and then people know, oh, this is where I should see this from. The pareidolia is something that I think I've made my own particular, street art indulgence. It's something we all do. It's an inherent psychological tendency we all have to see patterns in random stuff. It's why we see clouds and say, hey, that looks like a cow or that looks like a bunny. It's why you see faces in wallpaper or get frightened by that pile of clothes on a chair at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's because your brain is always looking for possible meaning in everything it sees. And one of the things I like most about drawing out on the sidewalk is that it's covered with all kinds of shapes and random pieces and bits, specks and streaks and cracks. And it takes very little application of this pareidolia to see things that might want to be drawn in any surface you look at. And that's what I do.
So what are some of the more unique street art designs that you've made in your time practicing this pareidolia? Because there's, like you said, there's so many different phenomenons and patterns that can be experienced by people in everyday things, and especially when you think about Michigan surfaces and the ways that they crack and the ways that they bend, I'd imagine there's quite a lot of variety, even in a place, like you said, in a small town of Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah. There is an incredible amount of variety. In fact, especially starting at the beginning of the pandemic, when I did all of my work for 2 years within walking distance of my own house, not only did I not run out of new places to draw, I didn't run out of things I wanted to draw on the same place. There are now places in downtown Ann Arbor, specific 1 square of sidewalk, that I've drawn 5 or 6 different things on the same place. So you're right, especially with Michigan conveniently breaking up the sidewalk here and there. There's always going to be something new to inspire a new piece of art.
Do you see something on the street, like a manhole cover or some sort of signage that's got a certain shadow at a certain time of the day, or something along those lines that then sparks an idea? Or is it more of a trial and error where I'm going to try this at this location, see if it works, and if it doesn't, I'll go back to the drawing board, no pun intended, and think of something else?
It's a very good question and a very good reference to the drawing board, because the beauty of it is that there is no drawing board, which means you don't really have that opportunity. You only really have until the sun goes down or a rainstorm comes to complete any given drawing. So even if there's very rarely a plan, and I think this is the key, is to very rarely have a plan, something will emerge. I mean, you could walk away at any time, but even though I could walk away at any time, and even if the drawing isn't going the way I expected, usually something comes of it, because why not make something while you're there?
We're joined by David Zinn, professional artist with Zinn Art, joining us on the Michigan Megacast, and you'll be able to see some of his art on the streets of Ann Arbor during the Ann Arbor Art Fair, where he'll be doing many of these drawings that we have been speaking about, these street drawings in chalk throughout Ann Arbor during that time in this July, that the Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 21st through 23rd in downtown Ann Arbor. 30 blocks of the city will be featuring this art fair. And so, David, you have a couple of characters you go back to, Sluggo and Philomena, who appear in a lot of your street art also. Can you tell us about these characters, who they are, and where the ideas for these characters came from?
Sluggo's probably been around the longest. He was one of the first things I drew actually on a driveway right next to my house. And he was actually my first failed drawing, because he was supposed to be a drawing of a human child that went really, really badly, to the point where he ended up green with eyes on stalks above his head. And because his eyes are this weird bug eye kind of, independent existence floating above his head, he's very excited about everything. I think he's been a good companion for that reason, because any way you draw him, he has strong emotions about whatever's happening. So he's the exuberant side of things. Philomena, by comparison, was drawn originally at the request of a small child in my neighborhood. And it didn't even occur to me at the time that drawing a pig with wings has a lot of symbolic power, and symbolic positive power and encouraging power, only because the phrase "that'll happen when pigs fly" is such an inherently mean-spirited thing to say, because that is used solely to discourage people. That means that for some people, and I've heard people comment this as they're walking by on the street, seeing a flying pig just has an inherently encouraging feel to it. Like, no, whatever you want to have happen, yeah, it could probably happen, because look, pigs can fly. She, in contrast, has very small eyes and a face which I've tried to make look scared or frightened or even exuberantly happy, and I can't do it. Something about that character is always very much calm and accepting and just okay with whatever's happening. And I find that the two together make a nice balance of influences in my life.
We're joined by David Zinn, professional artist, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. You'll find him in Ann Arbor with his street drawings all throughout Ann Arbor during the Ann Arbor Art Fair this July. More information can be found by searching Ann Arbor Art Fair. That happens July 21st through 23rd in Ann Arbor. You can learn more about David's art by visiting zinnart.com, zinnart.com, zinnart.com for more information and to see some of his pieces of street art and more on his website, zinnart.com. Again, is the website. And you also have a collection of artworks in a book called Chance Encounters. Can you tell us about Chance Encounters?
I do.
What people can find in that?
Yeah, Chance Encounters just came out this spring. It's being published by Prestel in Germany, so it's actually got a pretty good reach, unlike some of my first books, which were published very locally and have so few copies that people are scrambling to find any that are left. This is basically what makes the ephemerality okay, because I can't save any of these original drawings. They're stuck to the ground. I can't take them home, which is actually one of the best things about it, because I never have to worry if I have room in my house to store more art, which is a problem a lot of artists have. But to make it okay, I take photographs, and I can publish the photographs, and people can enjoy those anytime and anywhere, and also preserve the stories that emerge around them, because each one of these feels like it's an illustration from a story that hasn't been written. And so each one comes with a one-sentence reference, just an allusion to what might be happening. Usually they have a name and something is happening to them, but it's up to the reader to supply everything else.
We're joined by David Zinn, professional artist, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Again, his website, zinnart.com, zinnart.com, where you can also learn more about where you can get a copy of Chance Encounters and see some of his previous art. You'll be able to see his latest editions of street art at the Ann Arbor Art Fair coming up this July. And so where in the city are you going to be planning it, or do you plan at this time, if you have those plans, to make some of these street art pieces? Is it going to be in a relatively close area, or is it going to be all throughout the art fair?
Well, it is true that any nice day in Ann Arbor, I am likely to be somewhere drawing something, generally in the Main Street, Liberty Street area, because that's where I usually run errands and things. And that's my favorite way to make art, is when I'm just walking through town. However, for the art fair, they give me the opportunity to draw in front of the post office down on Liberty, a very downtown location, very central to my thinking of what is downtown Ann Arbor, because it's right near the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Liberty. And it's a space where I normally can't draw because it's federal property. It's one of the only places that a security guard has ever given me a stern look and told me to keep walking. So I relish art fair just for the indulgence of being able to draw in a forbidden place. So I'll be there definitely on Thursday and Saturday, and possibly on Friday as well, because we like to be prepared for possible erasure of the ground by rain in the meantime. Hopefully nothing that's going to get in anybody's way. So I'll be right down there, also right near one of my only permanent pieces in town, which is a mural on Fifth Avenue right next to the post office that people are welcome to come see. It's actually a very good photo op for anyone who wants to participate in a piece of art. So I hope for that as well.
David, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. More information on David and over 1,000 other artists you'll find in the 30 block area of Ann Arbor, July 21st through 23rd, can be found on the Ann Arbor Art Fair's website at theannarborartfair.com. We're going to take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk to one of nearly 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. That's coming up next on the Michigan Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on the Megacast link, where you'll find information on every single one of our partnering community television and radio stations, as well as our web outlets that include My Michigan TV or MyMy. Joining us now is Diane Renaud. She is the Executive Director and CEO of the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, one of 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Joining us now on the Michigan Megacast, Diane, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Appreciate having you on as well. And so first off, just tell us a little bit of information on the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center and its history and some of the programs it provides.
Well, we are actually one of Southeastern Michigan's oldest organizations. We've been around for 178 years. And we originally started as St. Vincent's Academy in 1844 in downtown Detroit, which is where the Millender Center now sits. And many people knew us as the orphanage that was out in Farmington Hills for many years, but we evolve as the needs of the community have changed. And so right now we are located in Northwest Detroit. We return to Detroit, and we provide free educational programs for low-income and at-risk children and adults.
So what are some of those programs and resources that are being provided to children and adults by your organization?
Well, one of the things that we have done is we did an analysis many years ago, about 15 years ago, where we determined that one of the best ways to really help people, to really help families, is to get them the stability that they need through education so that they can obtain employment that not only that they can keep a job, but they can actually support a family. And so first, starting with the children, we work with them in after school and summer programs to give them the one-on-one support that they don't necessarily get in overcrowded classrooms, and to help them make sure that they are at grade level as they continue through their education. And then we also work with adults 18 and older to obtain their GED, to get them into not just getting their GED, that's the step, but the end game is to get them to vocational training, higher education, getting them into a job that is sustainable so that they can support their family, get health care for their family. And so we have a variety of services that support those two programs.
Then the COVID-19 pandemic had a significant effect on so many nonprofits and so many of their services in a number of different ways. For yours, that focuses so much on education and, as you said, that one-on-one support. How did the pandemic impact your operations and your resources and programs, and how did you and your organization work around that?
Yes, everybody's been through it for the last few years. We were very fortunate in that just prior to the pandemic happening, we had added an online component for both our children and our adult programs. So the first 2 weeks of the pandemic in 2020, the first thing we did, because we do have, a social work aspect, first thing we did was we contacted everybody to make sure that they understood what the pandemic was about, and that they understood what the impact was going to be. The next step was we reached out to several hundred of our students and made sure that they had materials and identified who may need computer support. So we were able to pivot very quickly when a lot of other educational programs were shutting down for the summer and trying to figure out how to create a hybrid. We actually opened up enrollment within the first week of April. And as a result, we absolutely exploded. And one of the big things, obviously, the digital divide, especially in Detroit, is very real. So we distributed hundreds of laptops and hotspots and tablets to try and get as many people online as possible. But then in addition to that, for those that didn't have those resources or that we couldn't get resources to, we literally delivered books and materials and science kits for the kids and things to make sure that their learning did not stop because of the pandemic and that they could actually take advantage of the downtime. So we received enormous amounts of referrals and we literally exploded. We had to add staff. We had to add service lines. So it was a real growth opportunity for the center.
We're joined by Diane Renaud, the Executive Director and the CEO of the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. They are one of nearly 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. A couple of different places that you can find more information online about this organization. One is at their website, svsfcenter.org. That's svsfcenter.org. Or, of course, by going to sharedetroit.org, where they and 299 other charities and nonprofits are found on their website under Find Nonprofits. They now have 300 charities and nonprofits in the Metro Detroit area, including the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center as well. And so you had mentioned that you are in a new location. I looked on your website. I've done some research into your search, and you finally found what you've called your magic unicorn. Tell us about the new location and why this location is so exciting for the future of your organization and providing those services that you provide.
Yeah, it's a thrilling time in our history. So there's several reasons why this is exciting. So the first reason is in our entire 178-year history, we have always been a tenant. We've never actually owned our own building. And so to be able to diversify our portfolio and have this as an asset where we control our future is super exciting. That's number one. Number two, we are tripling our space, which is really exciting because it's really going to be able to help us to expand our programs, expand the services that we provide to the community, and increase the numbers that we reach. So right now, we are located in Northwest Detroit. We are going to be moving. Our magic unicorn we found is actually on the east side on Gratiot between 7 Mile and State Fair.
We're joined by Diane Renaud. She is the Executive Director and CEO of the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, located in Detroit. More information can be found in a couple of different places. ShareDetroit.org, where you'll find more info under the Find a Nonprofit section. You can find more info about the center as well as 299 other charities and nonprofits, or by going directly to their website, svsfcenter.org. That's svsfcenter.org. For more information directly from the website of the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, where you can find more information. And some of that information you can find is how you can sign up for some of these programs. So Diane, beyond the online program sign up information, if someone would like to go about sign up for these programs, what should they be expecting? What sort of documents do they need to provide, or other steps do they need to take if they or someone they know is in need of some of these programs and services?
It's very simple. For adults 18 years older, we simply need a state-issued ID. And for children, we need the guardians to provide information, provide releases. It's very simple. They can either go to our website or they can call us at 313-535-9200. And essentially what happens is we talk every single student through what to expect on the program, what their needs are, trying to make sure that we're meeting their needs and that we're the right program for them. We do an assessment for every single student, and every student receives their own personalized learning plan. The key difference, Tyler, to our program is that everybody works at their own pace. It is not a classroom where somebody stands up and lectures. Whether it's the children's program or the adult program, it is very tailored and customized to what the individual needs and what their goals are.
Not only do these programs take significant resources and investment from the organization, they also take a significant investment in time from individuals. What sort of volunteer opportunities are there through your organization that may be available to those interested in helping your organization and its mission going forward?
A great question. Absolutely the first thing that we need are tutors. Because our programs are one-on-one, the more tutors we have, the more volunteers that we have to tutor, the more people that we can serve. And whether you want to work with children, you work with adults, we do training. So people don't have to, be concerned, I've never tutored, I don't know how to go about it. We give everybody the tools that they need and we walk them through it. We mentor them through it. But there's also a wide variety of other ways that people can volunteer with the center. It's if they want to do administrative stuff, if they want to help out in the office, if they want to help with our gardening, if they want to come and teach a specialized class, if you have a special skill like a science experiment or something that you want to share with the kids for our STEM program, things like that. Everybody has something that they can contribute. And our job is to work with that individual and find out what that skill is and what they want to offer and find the best way to utilize it. So we welcome every inquiry about volunteering.
We're joined by Diane Renaud, the Executive Director and CEO of the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on svsfcenter.org. That's svsfcenter.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org as well. Diane, beyond the volunteer opportunities that are available, what are some other ways that people can support your organization at this time that would be really helpful to continuing its mission and, of course, continuing these great programs?
Well, obviously donations are a key thing, especially with purchasing a new building. And we're in the process of doing some preliminary renovations. And so we're, can never have enough money to go around. So that's one way. Another thing, too, is just advocacy. Advocacy of the importance of education for both our kids and our adults, especially because workforce development has become such a key area. So we are always looking for people who are willing to help us get out and spread the word and market the importance of these programs.
Diane, thank you very much for joining us and giving us some more insight into the programs through the St. Vincent and Sarah Fisher Center, and of course, announcing that exciting news of your new location as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Tyler. And I'd like to say thank you to Share Detroit for getting us involved in this as well.
Yeah, they do great work over there, and we appreciate them continuing to help us spread the word on some of these great charities and nonprofits all across the state of Michigan. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast and this week's editions of the Megacast. Of course, you can find our programs and all information you need to know about the Megacast by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. There you'll find links to each and every one of our partnering TV, radio, and other media outlets, so you can learn more about what they do in the 22 hours of the day, 5 days a week, that they're not with us on our live show or taking us live to tape as well. And find all of our full episodes on demand, so you can watch the 2-hour marathon that is the Oakland County and the Michigan Megacasts at your own pace, or just skip through and go to topics that are of interest to you. We give you all those options, and so you can have whatever learning experience you would like to have by joining us on the Megacast, either live for our full 2-hour programs, 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Monday through Friday, or on demand at civiccentertv.com. We also highly encourage you to go to our local news page at civiccentertv.com by clicking on the local news link that's either at the top of the page on your computer web browser or in the left margin on the drop-down menu on your mobile phone or other mobile devices, and learn more information about COVID-19 as the pandemic continues on from the CDC, the NDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. And you can also keep up to date on what's making headlines all across the Great Lakes State on the daily when we do these live shows, right under all those links at civiccentertv.com/local-news, civiccentertv.com/local-news for more information. Of course, you can always join us live for our programs 10 a.m. until 12 noon for the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. First hour of the show is all about Oakland County. The second hour of the program, 11 o'clock to 12 noon, all about the state of Michigan. We travel long and far to get people via Zoom to join us on our studio show here via Zoom to talk about a number of different topics on the COVID-19 front and far and beyond on the Megacast every single day. And this program's not possible without the great work of our crew that helps the show out every single day. Calvin Brown, our technical director, with me in the studio for the full 2-hour marathon that is the Oakland County and Michigan Megacasts. Our Zoom producer, Jared Clark, at the office of My Michigan TV in the bustling metropolis of Troy, Michigan. And of course, Larry Nyland, the king of television himself, our producer, helping each and every one of the guests and us also be prepared every single day for informative conversations on a number of different topics. Of course, 2 weeks ago, we had the tragic tornado that ripped through the city of Gaylord, and we had Steve Lado and Dave Scott from our team at My out there for interviews shortly after. That's coming up next, followed by a new episode of Larry and Ronnie Live. We'll return Monday with a new edition of the Megacast.